At the Tuesday, October 20th Hall County Board meeting, the Hall County Board did approve a controversial, what has been a very controversial sand and gravel permit from Vaught's Paving, but there are several conditions on the permit. Some of the conditions that the board wanted to specify before they approved this, first of all, that there would be no asphalt plant allowed at the sand and gravel pit, and not only will it not be allowed initially, the Vaught's cannot at any time forward come and ask for an asphalt plant. So that will never be something that will be a part of the sand and gravel operation. Also, the Vaught's are going to have to put in a paved private road that will be 320 feet south of their north property line. This is to get traffic away from where cars are turning in to and out of the Crane Trust. They also will have to limit the amount of work that they do hauling in and out of the site during what's known as crane migration season in the spring, from February 1st to April 15th. They will have to minimize the work that they do in and out of that site. They will put berms up, 12-foot high berms around the area, and keep the native trees and shrubbery and grasses that are already there to kind of act as a screening area there. And there was quite a bit of discussion between the two parties, with Vaught's Paving and the Crane Trust, working these conditions out as it applied to the amount of sound coming from this site. There was concern about noise from backup beepers and pumps that are going to be running at the site, but then the Vaught's has countered that there's a lot of traffic noise from Interstate 80. So the stipulation that was agreed to was 80 decibels of sound coming from the property line, and 80 decibels is slightly louder than the 77 decibels of a car traveling at 65 miles per hour 25 feet away. So it shouldn't be really any louder than any interstate traffic that's already heard at that location. Pumping activities also are going to be restricted basically to a sun-up, sundown kind of operation. Lighting should stay on the facility itself rather than being on roads or nearby property owners, and any water that's on the site will have to stay on the site and not be running off to other property owners. Probably the thing that was talked about most during the county board meeting was concern that was brought up from one of the neighboring property owners about groundwater contamination and soil contamination that was at the Crane Trust site in the past, which was identified several years ago and actually was one of the reasons that the site was deeded over to the Crane Trust. There was a former gas station at the location where the Crane Trust Nature Center is now, and Bosselman's had owned it at the time. 3D Investments owned it before them, and the contamination was recorded. The Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality is aware of it, so is the federal government through the EPA, and they don't have any concerns, hadn't had any concerns about contamination on neighboring properties, but this one property owner today, Ann Bohan on Shopsville Road, had concerns about contamination carrying over to other property owners. Because the conditional use permit is a local permit and landowners still have to adhere to state and federal regulations, the county board went ahead and approved the conditional use permit. It was a 6-1 vote. The one person voting against it was Pam Lancaster, and her concern was that DEQ, she felt, should be contacted to make sure that there's no concern with a sand and gravel operation nearby this contamination.